And again, Renee, we need to second that or any of that kind of stuff, or no,
No, you
just
just
go.
start.
Okay, so we're going to follow the agenda. This is the initial meeting. We're not looking for any public comment. It's more of an organizational meeting to get all of us together. There are several of us that are new. Unfortunately, Pauline didn't make it, and Mike Niles didn't make it, but that's going to happen as we move forward. I'd like to do introductions and ask each person to kind of tell us a little bit about themselves, why you were interested in the ECC and so forth. So I'll call upon you individually one at a time, but I'll start with me. So I've been doing this since 2010, maybe later than that. My profession, I'm an environmental engineer. I work for GHD Consulting Services. We formerly out of Cazenovia, we moved to Syracuse, and now my office is here in Pompey in my house. So, like a lot of us are.
Yeah.
So I obviously have a love for the environment, and I was asked to join the ECC many years ago, like you folks were, and I gladly accepted the offer, having my vision of what it would be. So that being said, historically, what I came to learn was that we almost always were given plans from the town, either the planning board, or I would say primarily the planning board. And the majority of those plans were subdivision applications from various people in the town. As Beecher can attest and Craig can attest, that was our primary function. We would look at those, look at any environmental concerns. We would visit the environmental mapper provided by the DEC, look for wetland questions, a lot of things that are in the code, and a lot of viewscape things. And then we would banter it around with the committee. But that being said, the new board now would like to see us doing a whole lot more than that, and I think that's awesome. I'm excited to be doing that. So those are things we'll talk about a little bit today, but just giving you a flavor for what we did. So we'd get a subdivision application, we'd look it over. Somebody wanted to subdivide their property and put a house on the front 2 acres for their son or daughter or whatever. And we would question any environmental impacts that might have from a town's perspective, because obviously they had to go through all the state regulatory processes with seeker and so forth, as Phil knows very well, right? Phil did a lot of this stuff. So that's me. I live on Route 20 out in Pompey. And let's start with Phil, because you're in the upper left-hand corner. If you want to just give us a little introduction.
Sure, sounds good. Thanks, Frank. My name is Phil George. I am also an environmental engineer. I live up here in the north side of town on Henderson Road, so kind of the outskirts of Pompey. I worked in the environmental department or the environmental area for almost 40 years. I just retired this year, so happy about that. But I always enjoyed my work in environmental and working, with whether it was regulators or our customers at National Grid or whoever it was. And I know that Pompey is really blessed to have a lot of beautiful natural resources. And one of my goals is I like to just help, preserve those natural resources as much as we can, but also try to help people recognize and to benefit from those natural resources. There's a lot here, and not everybody maybe knows what we have or what the benefits are. whether it's our wetlands or pollinators or the view sheds. And so it'd be nice just to make sure that everybody can enjoy those benefits and has knowledge of what we have in Pompey. So I did ask to be on the committee, and I'm glad I was selected because I really want to be able to help, like I say, enhance and protect Pompey's natural resources.
Nice, Phil. Thank you. Well said. Next is Craig. If you just give us a brief.
Sure. How are you, Frank? My name's Craig Dennis. I've been on the ECC board for about 9 or 10 years. I own a small dairy farm at the corner of Route 20 and Gulf Road, where my dad and I operate 400 acres. And I've lived in the town all my life. I've moved a whopping 2,000 feet in my life. Next.
Short but sweet, huh, Craig?
Thanks, Craig. Stanley, you're next up on my screen there.
Okay, Stanley Gorman. I guess my interest in this, or the reason I'm been appointed to the board, is I've been involved with the tower issue now for 20 plus years, and along with my wife and in-laws and a lot of relatives in the town. We live up on Sevier Road, which is adjacent to the Tower Overlay District, so that would probably be one of my main concerns. But moving into the future, like with Phil, we've got a lot of natural resources in this town. It is a beautiful town. I'd like to be able to move into the future. We've got a lot. They're talking about solar, wind, cell, towers, and just moving into the future. I want to make sure that we maintain the tower. Maintain the town beauty that is there, and protect the citizens and the town itself. That would probably be my concerns and the reason I'm getting involved. And I think Renee asked me to be a part of this board. Oh, one other note, sidebar, own and operate the Pompey Club. So that is, I guess, a dual role in the town of Pompey. So thank you.
What is the Pompey Club, Stan?
Pompey Club is a golf course that is on Route 91. Just as you are headed south, before about maybe a mile or two before you get to Route 20, you're headed up the hill on Route 91, and you'll be on the right-hand side.
Oh, yeah.
It
Stan,
contributes
don't
nicely
sell
to our
yourself
viewshed.
short. I would use the word prestigious golf club.
Well, we'd like to get a lot more of the, we do some dinners, and I think we've seen a lot of townspeople come up on Fridays, and it would be neat if we could see a lot more of that. I think going back when I've been involved now for going on 30 years, the stigma was, ooh, the Pompey Club. And, it's kind of, no, we can't go there, but it is not like that. We've got a great membership and come out and utilize the facility. So do some good Friday night dinners.
Yes, you do. I will attest to that.
And are you open during the pandemic?
Not well. We are seasonal, so we are closed during the winter. We tried to be open, but unfortunately, to heat our facility is a nightmare. So we are seasonal, and we were open last summer. Knock on wood, we didn't have a single COVID incident. Made it through the whole summer into the fall, and we'll be open again in the spring.
Great.
Thank
Great.
you.
Okay, thanks. And Martha?
Excuse me. Hi, my name's Martha Biglietta. I live on Gibbs Road, in between Broadfield and, it's a little road, you might not know, it's in between Broadfield and Indian Hill, just parallel to Watervale. I've lived here for 37 years or so. I'm a psychologist. I moved my therapy practice into this upstairs bedroom that you see me in March, when everybody else moved their work home. Many people have moved their work home. Those of us who could moved our work home. But I just retired like Phil. I just retired in December. And so I have a little bit more room in my life. Really got involved because I'm concerned about the environment. And I'm already involved with another environmental organization called Citizens Climate Lobby, which I could talk about sometime if you wanted to. That it's a national volunteer organization that focuses on pricing fossil fuels, putting a price on fossil fuels. And in terms of, I think of that old saying of think globally, act locally. I started feeling like I think about a national price on fossil fuels, a national fee on fossil fuels, but I should also be thinking in a more local way about my own town and how to be a good steward of my own town. So I volunteered to be on the committee.
Nice. Thank you, Martha. That's nice. And I think we would like to take you up on that to hear what your other committee does at one of our meetings.
That'd be
That's
great.
another thing that we've often done. We've brought in speakers over the years for various environmental aspects. So when the drilling for the shale oil was a big deal, we had a speaker come in and talk about that. We've had people come in and talk about stormwater to try and educate us, because we're from varying walks of life, right? We don't all know all this stuff. So we'll add a nice mix to the group here. And last but not least is Beecher.
Hi,
Hi, Beecher.
Hi, I live on the Oran Gulf Road, have been there for 35 years. And I think Vic LaFrenz invited me to be on the ECC during the, because I was very involved with the fracking issue within the town and got involved that way. I'd like to thank Renee very much for re-engaging the ECC, because I feel like we've been not tapped enough for really what the purpose of the ECC is. In fact, perhaps overlooked. So thank you, Renee. And I look forward to working with everybody on the ECC now. So.
Okay, great. So we've all met each other now and kind of have an idea where everybody's coming from. And Beecher just said it. I'm excited to do what Renee is hoping we will do. And I've asked the committee over the years on numerous occasions to take on some homework and come back to me with, my question was always to the committee, what are other environmental conservation commissions or boards, whatever they call themselves, in other towns doing? So I said, take this home with you, look it up if you will, and then come back and let's talk about it. And let's see if there's things that we could be doing other than what we had been doing. So I still want you to be thinking about that all the time as to what can we be doing. I sent along the charter with the agenda tonight, and I think everybody saw it. Renee, I can ask you to just pipe in if you would. Is it something we should go over, or just go ahead and say, hey, you guys look at this and that's what we're all about? I mean, I could certainly pull out some pieces of it and talk about it.
If you wouldn't mind if I can summarize, because this has been really important to me to get this commission active. If you read the code,
The legislative intent.
well, not only the intent, but the membership which this is a 9-member commission, and it's been, and I think, Beecher, your word is perfect, not tapped. And at times not even a full membership, but there's the whole membership is intended to represent the diversity of the town. So the appointments of the new people, some of the, and we just reappointed Craig, and Jeff Barber's not on this call either, and Mike Niles and Frank. Those 4 were up this year and reappointed, but last year we brought on 5 new people, and Pauline was one of them. It's not here, but the other 4 are on this, the other 3 are on this call. No, 4, no, 3, 3 are on this call. But anyway, the code says that the membership should be from all parts of the town. So when I look at Phil, he's up in the northwest corner, and Beecher Graham is the northeast sort of corner, and Martha, you're sort of central north central, and Craig and Jeff are the southeast part, and Stan is up near the towers in the middle on the east. Pauline would be, on the west, and Pauline would represent the south sort of west corner, and Mike is over on Waterville Road, so he's sort of the central or whatever. So the intent was, my point is being, it was to have a broad representation, not just of what your interests are as far as environmental issues, but to represent the area, the neighborhood, the section that you live in. You can bring issues to the, from your areas. And that was very important to me when we were looking at increasing the membership back to a full 9-person board. And also taking advantage of, and you can address this, and because I'll shut up, what your powers and duties can be, because I think they can be so much greater than you guys, than this commission has had, the role that you've played. It's not to downplay the importance of providing comments back to planning and zoning. That's a crucial piece of what your work is. But there's so many projects that this commission could take on with 9 people that have an interest in the environment. So that's my intent. And I'm gonna mute and turn my video off and turn it back over to Frank and his.
Frank?
Okay, thank you, Renee.
Frank?
Sure, Stan. Yep.
I think we should at least review what we're tasked for the public, because this is a public meeting and it's on Facebook. So
No, I agree, Stan. So I was going to just at least read the legislative intent here. So if you guys will bear with me, then we can all, if we want to, we can talk about it or pick it apart. But it's up on the website, so anybody can get to it. And I'll just read it. The preservation and improvement of the quality of the natural and man-made environment within the town of Pompey in the face of population growth, urbanization, and technological change, with their accompanying demands on natural resources, are found to be of increasing and vital importance to the health, welfare, and economic well-being of present and future inhabitants, and require forthright action by the governing body of the town of Pompey. It is recognized that the biologic integrity of the natural environment on which man is dependent for survival, and the natural and functional beauty of our surroundings, which condition the quality of our life experience, cannot be protected without the full cooperation and participation of all the people of the town, working in partnership with local and state officials and with various public and private institutions, agencies, and organizations. Establishment of a commission for conservation of the environment is a necessary step in fostering unified action on environmental problems. So you could really read that 10 times and think about it a lot, guys, I think. So it's a fairly powerful statement, really, as to what we're tasked with here. So, and that, we all did our introductions. Well, that gets to me right there. I want to be a part of that. I want to protect this beautiful town that we live in and have a say. May not always get my way, but at least I felt like I had a say in what happened, hopefully. So then it goes on to talk about the establishment of the board. And we are referred to as the Pompey Environmental Conservation Commission, referred to as the commission. There are 9 members, and you're appointed for 2-year terms that start on the 1st of January. And they talk about the records. So typically we have not asked anyone to be a secretary. I have just always put together the minutes, and then I will send them out to you guys for review, to add to or comment on, and then I will send them to the town clerk. So even after this meeting, in the next week, you will receive a copy of the minutes from me via email. And if you'd please just review them and say, yeah, it looks good to me, Frank, or put this, say this is our introductory meeting. So there's not a lot of formal town stuff that we're talking about here. So it'll be pretty much the agenda that I'll send you with maybe some comments. I'm looking at the commission here, and so I'm trying to see what else I should bring up. There's a bit here, so I don't, unless somebody thinks it's important, I'm not going to read everything here. I think that first statement stated it. When we do have issues before us, we do need a quorum of 5 people, just as part of the meeting rules and regulations. There is a requirement that we submit an annual report, and in the past, all I've done is put together all my minutes and send them all my minutes again. I don't know if that is justified, but that's what I've done. We will be asked by the various boards to review things as we have done in the past. And it's been my understanding that we will look at that from an environmental standpoint. We're not there to say that, building codes and those kinds of things necessarily. We are strictly, and correct me if I'm wrong, Renee, but we are strictly looking at it from environmental standpoint for the town of Pompey. So.
No, you're right. And you're being asked for comments. That's usually what the board is, either the town board or the planning board would be looking for, the ECC's comments on whatever's referred.
Yep. So, for example, in the past, guys, we have seen various commercial or residential proposals put before us, and a lot of our comments would be maybe you could hide some of that with some landscaping, or we have a view shed here. We don't want a big ugly building right next to the road and so forth. So those are the kinds of things. And pipe in, Beecher and Craig, if you can think of other things that we've kind of commented on along those same lines. We have looked at wetland encroachment, but again, that's part of the seeker process when a lot of these projects have to go through a state review. So I don't think we're bringing that to anybody's attention that hasn't already looked at it, but we definitely look at the potential for that when we see a subdivision going in, and we say, hey, this is definitely, there's some potential here for this being a wetland encroachment or another environmentally sensitive area. So,
Craig, I'm sorry, you may have mentioned this first, but I think we've commented many times on the effects of certain things on view sheds. Viewshed is a big part of what we can comment on.
I believe so too, Beecher. Yeah, absolutely.
You say that and I missed it. I'm sorry.
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
The view shed is a big
That's
big part of what we look at here in Pompey, because
Yeah.
everybody actually in their introduction pointed out the fact that they love this community because of the views that we do have and the beauty that's around us here. So there are some things on the plate in front of us where we may have comments on that. So any other thoughts or comments from you guys on that? Okay, so as I said, Renee and the town has expressed an interest in us doing more, and Beecher's excited for it. I'm sure you guys are. Everybody has their own agenda, but there's so many things out there that we could be looking at. I put some on the agenda, just things that environmental groups might talk about. From the town of Pompey perspective, I just listed off 5, but there's millions of them probably. I said recycling, climate change, recreation, wildlife, viewscape. That's just to get everyone thinking about all this stuff, because I'd like to, in future meetings, come up with some plans for things that we could potentially be doing as a committee, and possibly involving the town in. One of the things I from my perspective, I would introduce would be maybe something on Arbor Day, where we maybe purchase trees and hand out 10 trees to each person that comes up to the town hall to be planted on Arbor Day. If we really look into this, don't get me started, but we need trees in this world. We need trillions of them actually to offset the giant hole that we're creating in the atmosphere. So that's one of the things that I'm passionate about. I personally planted thousands of trees on my property across the road over the years. So, but that's just one thing, guys. So if everybody can pipe in at some point down the road, that those kinds of things are what I believe the town is looking for us to do, and involving the rest of the town in this stuff. And then any comments there before I move on?
Frank?
Okay, yes.
All right, just to chirp in, with all that's going on, again, with the solar and the tower, wind and all of that, and fracking, I think when you start talking about technology and the way technology is going to change, it's something that I don't know if it falls under environmental, but certainly it's something that should be at least looked at. That's kind of where I'm coming from.
Okay.
All right.
No. I encourage everybody to jump in whenever.
I'm no engineer. So I don't know anything. I just I'm passionate, and I'm willing to work, and I'm willing to help out, and that's kind of where that's it.
Yep. Yeah. So there's a lot for me to learn about that stuff too, Stanley, because I don't know, 1,000 times more about the towers than I do. And the upcoming stuff, I was going to have Renee just pipe in the three things on the plate that we're going to be looking at, as I understand it, coming up will be the solar farm overlay district local law, right? So I'd like, not right this second, Renee, but I'm going to go through these other two things and then I'd like you to pipe in, but hopefully Renee will give you a brief overview of what that solar farm overlay district law is all about. Just if you're not familiar with it. And then the cell tower issue is another thing that possibly Stanley can speak to or Renee can speak to as far as what we as a town should be looking at with those cell towers. It's my understanding that they put various receivers, repeaters, whatever the technical jargon is, Stanley, for that. They put these devices on the towers and they just appear. And I'm not saying that it is one way or the other, but is there some way to look at that and control that? Or is that, once they've had those leases, can they just put anything up there that they want? I don't know the answer to that, but I'll let Renee and Stanley speak to that. And then the last thing that will be put before us immediately will be the special event permit law. And again, I'll have you speak to those three items. And if you have some stuff to say on the cell tower issue, that would be great. So I'll shut up and let Renee tell us a little bit about the solar farm, the cell towers, and the special event law.
Thanks, Frank, and thanks for being open to a different look for your commission. I appreciate it. The one thing I would ask the members to really focus on is the powers and duties section of the code that Frank shared with you. You really do have a lot of things you can do. There are some things that are generated for you to do by another town board, for instance, the planning board, when they make a referral. But the first thing on the list is that you on your own initiative, without a referral, can advise the planning board of issues that you believe affect the preservation, development, and use of our resources. So that you can do on your own initiative. If you feel like there's something that you can advise them, in addition to them making referrals to you. But the other thing, and this goes to the issue of the cell towers, but it also goes to some of the other overlay districts in the town we have. There has been no real inventorying of them to speak of that I can tell. It's been very piecemeal. And
I'm sorry, Renee, no inventory of what?
am I breaking up?
You are not. No, you are not.
No,
that's my deaf ears. Okay. I didn't quite pick up.
Of the cell towers. So I'm going to go back to solar in a minute, but I just want to read your duties and powers sections. There are a lot of things you can be doing, studies, inventories. I want you to inventory these cell towers. That's one of the things I think needs to be done. And we are working right now with our town attorney on a letter that's going out to all of the owners that we know of. We're not sure there are the owners because there's not been much monitoring of the cell towers over the years. But we're sending out a letter to get us updated. And so hopefully when we get some responses from them, I really do want this commission to, and it doesn't have to be all of you because there's 9 of you. So it can be a subcommission or a subgroup of this commission that could work on the cell towers. And I'm sure that Stanley would be happy to lead the way on that. But anyway, and he's been involved in it since its inception when the overlay district was first formed back in, was it 2000? Sometime back in a long time ago. Even longer, it was that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I have record. I only have records back to Environmental Conservation Committee addressing this in 1981. Seems to go on a 20-year cycle. It was 1981, and then when I got involved was 2001, and now we seem to be revisiting it in 2021. So every 20 years we seem to get at it.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll get it updated. And really what needs to happen is a code enforcement officer needs to keep track of these things. If we can get inventory lists that are up to date, then the code enforcement officer can, you know, spend a day or whatever amount of time checking on the facilities and making sure, keeping people honest is really what it's about. So if we can get these lists up to date, and same with, we have a farm business overlay district. We have a wind energy, it's not an overlay district, but we have wind energy. So there's things we should be doing to be paying attention. We put laws in place, and sometimes it doesn't seem like once the laws are in place that they're implemented, but that they're not. We're not paying attention to the enforcement. So that's my perspective on it. It's always been my perspective, is that if you put a law on the books, you should be enforcing it. So, and if you don't want to enforce it, then we should have a conversation about that and change the law. But in any event, I think your role is crucial to a lot of what is coming down the pike. And if any of you tuned in, I think some of you did, for the solar farm overlay district hearing on Tuesday night, you'll know that there are a lot of concerns out there about that law, and how or if we should even have such a law. So it was a good discussion. I thought that the community had the overlay, just so if for those of you who don't understand it, we could pass a solar energy systems law that would govern how we allow solar systems to be installed in the town. That would mean that some of them would just be a permit issued by the codes officers. Some of them would be a process that they would have to go through before the planning board with site plan approval. But because we've been asked to consider having what they call solar farms or larger solar systems, 5 megawatts seems to be the size that is popular. Because the town was asked, I think in 2019, I think. Anyway, the overlay district as part of the law was considered because it's a second step in the process, which gives the town more control over where a solar system could be, a commercial solar system could be installed, which means that it would have to have town board approval. The town board would have to give approval for an overlay for a solar system in a certain place. So, and there's a whole, and so the solar, the law that's been proposed has a process and several considerations that involve the town board. If the town board approves an overlay of a zone for, and only certain zones are being considered, which is farm, industrial, and commercial, not residential and not hamlet. But if the board approved it, then step 2 would be it goes to the planning board for site plan approval. So it's a second layer of oversight, gives us more control over larger systems. Doesn't apply to smaller ones, but the larger ones. So that's the law that's been proposed by a committee that was formed. Again, I think back in 2019. And that committee had been prepared to provide the town board with the proposed law, and then the administration changed. So it got put on hold until the administration changed. in 2020. And then we all know that COVID has really wreaked havoc with a lot of things, and it wreaked havoc with this. So we've been delayed in considering the law. And getting this commission up and running. But I think it's timely that you're gathering now, because I would love to have some of you, if not all of you, really weigh in on what your thoughts are about the larger systems. It's really the larger solar systems that are at issue. We've always had, not always, we have in place already a law that governs and regulates residential solar. But we have never had on our books, we've never allowed commercial solar. So it's a discussion that got started on Tuesday night. And it will continue until we feel like we are in a place to make a decision one way or the other, but all views are welcome. I truly mean that. So, and I look at this group and I can imagine there are differing views, and that is a good thing. You will not all agree on environmental issues, but you will bring a perspective to the discussion that will be helpful. So solar is on the hot seat right now. Cell towers and the inventory to figure out what is going on Sevier Road and over on Indian Hill as well is also a priority. There has not really been a full radio frequency testing of the Sevier site in quite a while. If I read the statute correctly, I think it was supposed to be done every 6 years. Stan tells me that he was promised to have it done every 2 years. That's not in the law, but I think that there maybe was a promise made along the way. I cannot find evidence that that has occurred over time. I can't even find evidence that it's occurred every 6 years. So that really does need to be addressed, the radio frequency issue. What's coming, especially since we don't even know what's on those towers. So that's why I'm saying that once we get some information about the towers and we know what's on them, then we can figure out what we need to do for radio frequency testing to ensure that the public is safe, the residents are safe. So that is the cell tower issue. I really do believe Stan wants to spearhead that, and I would welcome that because he has so much information on it. But you, members of this commission, will decide who wants to do what and what you want to work on. I don't have I have no interest in telling you what to do or how to do it. I'm just going to tell you the things that I think should be on your plate as far as the concerns that that the town has right now. And the third one is what I've been calling special events.
Renee,
Yes.
before you go on to the event, I want to just ask a question. So are you thinking that we could form a subcommittee and that the ECC could actually perform the inventory of the towers, or I'm not sure I'm perfectly clear on
yeah,
that.
and the inventory, we've started the process.
Okay.
We've gone to the county tax maps. We've pulled the names of the owners of the towers, their addresses, all their pedigree information.
Mm-hmm.
And as a precursor to sending out a letter asking them to update what's going on with their tower. The first question being, do you still own it? Because I went up there a couple weekends ago when Stan called me and said there's work being done up there. I went up to one of the towers that was owned by a radio station is now owned by some company in Indiana, and they're not on our list. So the first question, as far as I'm concerned, is do you still own this tower that is in your name? Because I'm not sure we have accurate information. In fact, I'm quite sure we don't, but we will. And I think this committee could be instrumental in working on that. And once we start to get some information, it can be funneled to your committee, Frank, to a subcommittee of your committee. I keep calling it, I go back and forth between commission and committee, but you know what I mean.
No, that's okay. Yep.
You could, it doesn't need to be addressed by everyone. It could be a subgroup that works on it and then brings their work to you commission as a group, and then proceed from there. But I think there's so many things that like this. I mean, there's the third thing on the list for powers and duties is to do an inventory of all the open spaces in the town. Now, I think there's probably something to that effect in our master plan, but I don't even know what it means. What does open space mean? Craig, do you know what open space means? Because I think farmland, you know, but I don't think it's necessarily farmland at all.
I think you could substitute open space with the word viewshed, and you would find it comes up a number of times in the master plan.
Okay, thanks. So I'm just saying there are plenty of issues that we could and study. I don't mean study. I mean just get our heads wrapped around so that we know what we've got, and then we're better able to protect it. And yet, with solar, there's obviously multiple environmental issues going on there. There is aspect. We want to protect farmland. We want to protect viewshed. There's also, we want to protect renewable. We need to get going on renewable energy because we're supposed to be 100% renewable by the year 2040. So, I mean, I know, Craig, you can shake your head, it's crazy, but I'm just saying there is an environmental interest on some people's parts to switch to renewable energy, whether it's the governor that's requiring it or people that just want it. So, you know, you got to, it's balance, and I would welcome a thoughtful consideration of how we balance that. The committee that presented us with the proposed draft came up with one balance, but that might not, that's certainly the start, it's not the end. So I would welcome your involvement in that process. So Frank, I just want to move on to the special event permit law.
Sure. Yep.
That's come up because, as you know, Farm Days is coming back to Pompey next summer, and some of the neighbors in the area where that's going to occur have voiced some serious concerns about the size of the event in their backyards and the noise, the traffic, safety issues, hygiene issues, etc. It's not a town event. We don't have a say because we do not have any special event law on the books. It's a contractual event that's occurring on land that is in farmland trust, where the farmer has the farm has sold its development rights to the state, so they can't develop the land, which in and of itself is a benefit. Because if they developed that land, if that land was on the market, it would go like that, and then you would have houses there instead of farmland. But there's legitimate concerns on the parts of the neighbors. But we also have to take into consideration all of the other aspects of an event like that, because there is benefit to the community. There's the good feel of having an event like that in this community, but because it is a farming community, there's also the economic good benefit. Some of our businesses we don't have a lot of businesses in Pompey, but the few that we do could benefit from it. But as a result of Farm Days coming, there's now been talk of having some tractor pulls in the town with some supercharged. I got that again, Craig, weigh in on this, because I'm not a tractor person, but which would be right near the hamlet of Pompey Hill. And so there are concerns with noise and traffic and safety issues with that private event that could attract a large crowd that is going to piggyback off of both the Fireman's Field Days, as I understand it from the people, the organizers of it, and Farm Days. They want to do 2 tractor pulls, one related to each. And I don't blame them. That's a good idea because you've got crowds. It's just a matter of how are you going to do that? If you're going to have food, is the Department of Health involved? Do you have insurance if somebody gets hurt? What is the emergency response? What's the traffic plan? What's the parking situation? I mean, there's so much involved, and it's right on the corner of 20 and Route 91 where they want to do this. So you've got a major state highway, 4-lane highway as well. So what we've started to do is pull some, we've started to pull some other local laws that other towns in the state have passed to have some control over events that occur in their town. We have control over buildings because we have our code, our zoning code. And so we can control what gets built in the town, but we don't have anything that controls events. And I'm starting to see some events occur. And I know, Craig, you had a small one. I mean, but that, I don't know, a while ago, but that didn't, I don't think that size event would be the kind, but if you had a really good turnout, that could have been an issue. You know, I think it was a small event, but if you made it bigger, then it's another issue. And, you know, there's all kinds of things you can do, because then does it apply to the Fireman's Field Days? Does it apply to church events or school events? We don't have a school, but just saying. Or would we exempt those organizations because we think that they have the structure and already the insurance, etc., that we know they would be a safe event for the public. So these events are also, I think, have environmental aspects to them. So we do have a few people that are interested in pulling provisions that will, looking at these laws, pulling provisions from them that they think would be applicable to Pompey. And believe me when I say the committee is varied. It's not going to be, we're not going to stack it with any, and just like this committee, you need to have different viewpoints represented at the table in order to come to recognize all of the factors involved. But when we finish looking at those laws, we're going to propose them to the sections that we like or the provisions that we like to our town attorney to come up with a draft law. And at that point, I would like this committee to look at it and weigh in. You don't need to, we've already started down that track. And so, perhaps somebody on this commission would, I think you get too big of a group involved and then it's difficult, but suffice it to say, we have people that are representing the neighborhood that is concerned with an event comes into your neighborhood. We have people that are representing the business aspect of this, and this is an agribusiness type of, these are agribusinesses, and there's right to farm issues, there are ag and markets issues, because there's protection for things that are done on farmland. And I know I'm spewing a lot, but that just goes to show you how much there is that can be done. I mean, there's so much that you could all be working on. And I think it's been a shame that this ECC has not been used more. You are a great resource. I look at all of you on this call, and they're not even all of you, and you all bring something unique to the table. So I have high hopes for this group, and I look forward to all of you getting involved in whatever it is you choose you want to get involved in. Some of it I'm going to ask of you, some of it will be of your choosing. But having said that, unless you guys have any questions of me, I think I've said enough. One other thing I want to plant a seed. I think this
I'm
commission-
surprised, Renee.
I know. This commission is ripe for helping other groups. And the one I'm thinking of is the Pompey Historical Society. They have a piece of property over on in Oran that they are really struggling with how to handle. And I have thought that this commission, I've thought for a long time that this commission would be a great resource for them, that they could come and present on their issue and get some really great feedback.
Another subcommittee.
I'm looking at Phil George and I'm thinking about all your background, and there's just a lot of talent here, and just sharing it with and it's the public-private partnership kind of things that we could really be helpful with. So I'm shutting up. I'm muting.
Yeah, and I think, Renee, what you were saying is this committee can bring to light a lot of the environmental perspective to the townspeople. So that's what I'm hearing. Yeah, I like all that stuff.
Yep.
I think it sounds good moving forward. So
For sure.
in the past, try to keep these meetings to an hour. We are at an hour now. If there's anything else anybody wants to pipe in, open discussion. I'll just say before we do that, the next meeting will be the third Thursday of next month, which shame on me, I don't have the date in front of me, but I will put it in the minutes. So that's our plan at 7 o'clock. Does 7 o'clock work for everybody here? Historically, especially virtually.
The 18th of February.
When is it, Craig?
18th.
Okay, thank you very much. The 18th of February will be our next meeting at 7. And Craig, does 7 o'clock mess you up or not?
I can work. 7's good. I'm just about done with chores. Thank you.
Sure, you don't want us to do it at 5:30.
Only if you're going to help in the morning.
I'm kidding. That's why we don't do 5:30. Okay, so 7 o'clock it is, unless there's any opposition. I will send out the email again with the agenda like I did this time. And we will.
But the agenda is going to be like 6 times longer than it was this time.
Yeah, we'll have to talk, Renee. So we'll
Just
see.
kidding. Just kidding. It's a good, a lot of ideas is a good thing.
Yeah, no, it absolutely, Martha. So, okay. Does anybody have anything else they want to bring up before we adjourn?
I will just respond to Martha. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. I'm just throwing out ideas that I think that are this group so well. So it will be up to you what you choose to focus on.
I was kidding.
Don't
And
feel overwhelmed. I don't mean it that way.
I appreciate all the obvious thought that you put into so many of these aspects. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing from the historical group there. I'd like to have them if they wanted to come in and give a presentation. The presentation that we did on the fracking, Renee, you brought up that 20 by 2040. This gentleman was a great speaker from my office who knows a lot about the fracking issue. And he had some pretty scary facts that he put in front of us that, like, by 2050, we'll be out of fossil fuel. So one of the, and don't quote me here, but one of the statistics that really stuck with me there was since man began using fossil fuel to the present, we had used half of all the fossil fuel on the planet. And in the next 25 years, we were going to use the other half, or 50 years, whatever it was. It was shocking. And I'd never thought of that, even from an environmental standpoint, that like, oh yeah, that it's not, you're going to pump the last drop of fuel out of the ground at some point. It's just, it's a fact. Whether his numbers were correct, but it was shocking.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, Okay, I guess with that, we're adjourned.
Frank,
Yes,
do we have any homework before the next meeting? Is there
the
something
only
you want us
homework
to
was what I
do or
mentioned
task us with or
earlier.
Send you, or are we gonna?
So what I'd like to do is, sounds like we would talk about the towers and the overlay district, the solar overlay district next meeting, a little more formally, and then maybe, as Renee had suggested, set up maybe a subcommittee. And again, I'm going to look for input from you, Renee, as we move forward with some of these things. So it makes sense to me that if let's say we put together a subcommittee for the tower, Stan, it's apparent to me that you would be the point person for that and kind of coordinate that effort. And we could ask for volunteers that wanted to help. And we'd have to kind of brainstorm and think about how would we go about helping the town get this inventory that Renee has pointed out. It sounds like there's been some legwork done, that some letters have gone out. Maybe we need to just do a little research and get some information to get us up to speed on that.
I will tell you, Stan, I just want to jump in for a minute. I will tell you that there are boxes and boxes on the cell towers, town hall.
Nice.
So,
In the town of Pompey?
and you're welcome. What, Craig?
In the town of Pompey?
Yep.
Okay.
There are
Minutes from-
many boxes in the vault that have cell tower written on them from when, I think one was the Indian Hill one, the most recent one, but it goes way back to the times that Stan was talking about, well, I was talking about, which is around the year 2000. For that, they're probably around, I don't know where, but the earlier ones I don't know, but there are so many boxes, and they really could use some organization, let's put it that way. Because there's a lot in them, and
Sounds like we need a database to me.
yeah, but if you
Get all
wanted
this
to
stuff.
look at them, I'm sure that the town clerk would, if you make an appointment, would give you the opportunity. She could pull them, and I don't think she'd want her to pull them all at once, but
No.
or at least go in there with her and look at what we've got, because there's quite a bit.
Yeah, I've never looked into it like Stan and everyone. I
Yeah,
don't even know how many towers we're talking about. So,
a
Well,
lot.
well, there's got to be a definitive number, like are there 30? That would be very interesting for me to know.
tell me when I can chirp in.
Yep, go ahead.
Like I said, I've been involved with this for a number of years. I know there's probably in the neighborhood of 12 towers. Ballpark, again, inventory, I don't know. I think the best thing, and when you say it's not just cell towers, so let's, I can tell you that one of the cell towers went from 3 panels to about 15 or 20 over the last 20 years. And so from our standpoint, it is, I'm looking at it not only for safety of the town and things like that, but to make sure that the town, if they need to get taxed on any of this, needs to benefit from any of this, does. That being said, probably the best thing I can do is there was a committee put together 20 years ago to make recommendations on the Tower Overlay District, and I do have that report. So I could try to make it available. That it might be in some of the coffers in the vault that Renee is talking about. Make and Final Jeopardy. I don't want to monopolize this committee with just tower stuff. So
No, but it is important, Stan.
Yeah, and don't worry, Stan, I won't let you.
I think that would be a good starting point. There was a committee put together 20 years ago to make recommendations on the Tower Overlay District, which they did. I reached out to Renee, and she's been great to share that information with her. I just don't know if any of it's been incorporated. where we stand. There really hasn't been any testing done. I'm pretty sure that the FCC mandates that the towers test themselves every 5 years. And whether that's been done or not, that is more of a safety issue. I know the work that you were privy to, Renee, the other day, they do need to maintain appearance, keep up, the signage and different things like that. I don't know if any of that's been checked. So there is a lot, even in just that issue itself. And like I say, this dates back to Channel 24 tower, where the ECC made recommendations. And in the tower overlay district, I'm been told that the towers went up in the 60s. So I would say that's when that district or overlay dates back. I don't know for sure.
So you can study it. And I would really ask you, if you want homework, please read through the powers and duties and really think about what your parameters are as far as what you're tasked with, and that you can discuss next time.
Certainly.
Really, there's a lot there.
And we should probably all be looking at that local law on the town website for the solar overlay district. If you're aware that it's there, right when you get on the homepage, if you scroll down, John's got a link to it right there, and you can read it and get as confused as I am about it. But maybe we can talk about it and try to help each other understand it, because I've read it and looked through it several times, and that it's not super straightforward to me. So, okay, anything else, anybody?
Are you noticing the information from Chris Carrick in the Q&A?
Oh,
I didn't know Chris was, he must be watching the live stream, huh?
He's been heavily involved with our solar committee, helping them draft, like reviewing and giving suggestions, because he's so knowledgeable. For anybody who doesn't know, he is with the Central New York Regional Planning and Development Board, and his expertise in energy. So John Shaheen has been the chair of our committee from our planning board, solar, and he and John have been working together. And I know John is looking forward to hearing from this group on what if any comments you have about the proposed law. So, and I saw it there, but since there's no public comment, I didn't want to make an issue of it. But,
okay. Okay. Meeting adjourned, folks. We'll see you on the 18th at 7 o'clock. Okay.
Thanks,
All
Frank.
righty.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yep, thanks, Frank. Thanks, Al.
7 o'clock.
Okay.
Nice meeting you all. I'm
Yeah.
Same
looking
here.
forward to working on this.
Great. Okay. Bye.
Nice to meet you too. Have a good night, folks.
You too. Good night all.